Hello and welcome back. Today we will be discussing about the bond cash flow structure, especially in case of the callable bonds and issuer rights. The risk is for the investors and the mechanism of call protection. So let's get started. So let's define our subject. A callable bond is a specific type of fixed income security that gives the issuer the right to redeem or pay off the bond before it reaches its legal maturity date. This is an embedded option found in the bond contract. Importantly, the issuer holds these options. They have the right but not the obligations to take this action. Think of it as a power reserved by the borrower to end the loan early if it benefits them. So let's look at the diagram which visualize. If you see, we have the issuer who holds the options. Okay, this connects to the call provision. This is the call provision, and this provision gives the right to redeem the bond, which is prematurity, and investor will lose here, correct? So and issuer would benefit here. Now let's move to the why issuer calls the bond. Let's understand that contingency which we discussed previously. So why would an issuer want these features? The primary reason is to take advantage of falling interest rates. If market rates drop after bond is issued, the company is stuck paying a high coupon. By calling the bond, they can pay you back and then they issue new bonds at the current lower rate, which saves money on interest payment. This is very similar to a homeowner refinancing a mortgage when rates goes down. Also, if the issuer credit ratings improves, they might call bond to issue new ones at a lower spread. So let's look at the diagram again. When there is a higher interest rates, market when bond was issued and the market changes and rates falls. What issuer will do? It would execute his call options and go to the issue new bond and result it would get a lower interest rate. So who would benefit here? Issuer would benefit, but investor would lose in this scenario. And what could be the reason for that? Lower interest rate and credit rating improves for the issuer. So this is the things you have to remember for the exam. Now let's talk about the risk and compensation for the investors. While this is good for the issuer, it presents a risk for you as an investor. This is known as reinvestment risk. If your high paying bond is called away because rates fall, you get your cash back, but now you have to reinvest it in a market where rates are lower. You lose that good income stream. To convince you to accept the risk, issuer must offer a sweetener. Therefore, callable bonds typically offer a higher yield and sell at a lower price compared to otherwise identical non-callable bonds. So let's look at this in the diagram as well. Callable bonds, which is a high reinvestment risk, higher yield, and lower price. Correct? That would be compensated with that. And if it is a non-callable bond, so lower investment risk because there is no call option, but the yield would be low and price would be high for that bond. So you need to understand the relationship very clearly here, correct? Because otherwise, trading in a bond is mainly depend on these all factors you need to consider. Now let's talk about the call price and schedule. When a bond is called, the issuer does not just pay any price. They pay a predetermined call price. Often this price is set at a premium above the par value to provide some extra compensations to the bondholder. For example, a bond might be callable at 102% of par. This call premium usually declines over time as the bond approaches the maturity. The specific dates on which a bond can be called and the price applicable to each date are laid out in the call schedule found in the indenture. So let's look at this Gantt chart which visualizes the declining call schedule. In the first period, so we'll call at 103. So in 2025, 26 it is call at 102. In 2027, call at 101. In 2028, 100 rupees. So this is the call. Options is the call price is getting continuously dropped as and when it reaches towards the maturity. Now let's talk about the call protections on mechanics. Investors need some initial security. This is provided by call protections. The most common form is a lockout period, also called a deferred. For example, a 10-year bond might have a 5 years of call protections. During this time, the issuer is legally prohibited from exercising the call options, regardless of what interest rates do. This guarantees the investors a certain number of coupon payments before the risk of redemption begins. So this diagram, if you see in 2023, the issue date, since 2023 to 2028, this is called a lockout period, which is a call protection. The issuer cannot call the bond during this time. And the first call date start with the 2028. And this 28 to 2033 is a callable period. During that time, anytime it can call it. And 22 to 2033 is a maturity anyway of the bond. Now let's style of call exercise. Let's understand that. The call options can be structured in different way known as an exercise style. An American call gives the issuer maximum flexibility. They can call the bond at any time starting on the first call date. A European call is very restrictive. A European call is very restrictive. The issuer has the right to call the bond only once on the specific call date. A Bermuda call lies in the middle. The issuer can call the bond only on specified dates following the call protection period, which typically corresponding to coupon payment dates. So we learned that three main exercise styles are there: American, which can happen anytime; European, only once; Bermuda, scheduled dates. Similar things are depicted in the diagram. If you see here, call options styles, which is American, European, and Bermuda, which you need to understand. They can call anytime after the protection. And one specific dates is only on European case, and in Bermuda specific dates or which can be corresponding to coupon dates. Now let's talk about the valuation of the callable bonds. How do we value these bonds? We use a simple formula. The value of a callable bond equals the value of a straight non-callable bond minus the value of the issuer call option. We subtract the option because the options belong to the issuer, represent a cost to you. Because of this call options, these bonds exhibit negative convexity. Convexity we learn later. When rates fall significantly, the price of a straight bonds would skyrocket. However, the price of callable bond will not rise much above the call price because the issuer is likely to call it. So we learn that the value of a callable bond is lower than the straight bond by the value of the call options. Same thing is depicted in the diagram. If this is the value of the straight bond and issuer call options value, you need to subtract it and then you will get the final callable bond values price. Now, let's summarize. To wrap up, remember that callable bonds are tools for issuers to manage interest rate risk. Allow them to refinance when rates drop. For investors, this creates reinvestment risk, which is the risk of having to reinvest at lower rates. You are compensated for this with higher yields. We also discussed how lockout periods provides temporary safety and how the bond's value is mathematically reduced by the value of the options held by the issuer. Callable bonds trade higher yields for the risk of early redemption and capped price appreciation. Similar things is in the callable bonds, which has the protections. What kind of protections? You get a they need to pay call premium and there's a lockout period. So this is these two things are the protections. Valuation, how do you calculate? Straight bond minus the options value, you get it. Issuer rights, if we talk about what are the issuer rights here, they can refinance it and their rate declines as well. And what are the investor risk here? There is a capped price and reinvestment risk here. Okay, the price is capped. So while cap price, when the what would the call price? These are predefined. So that's all in this session. Thanks for watching. I'm stopping now.